Welcome student to the biology class. Myself your bio teacher Khushbu Mishra, PGT Biology KV number 2 Itanagar. So let's start our first chapter. The name of the chapter is The Living World for class 11, and here in this chapter we are going to deal about certain features of living organisms, binomial classification, taxonomy, classification, domains of life, as well as some taxonomical aids. So let us start the chapter and the brief explanation of each and every topic. As we try to identify and define living things, certain features like growth, reproduction, response to environment, etc. come to mind. Some other unique features also like metabolism, reproduction, self-organizations to be able to react to emergency, etc. also we can think about that. So let us discuss these features of living things in some detail. What is living? Very prime criteria of a living organism we can say as all living organisms grow. This growth is related with the increase in number and increase in mass of the individuals. Increase in number, that means one will form the another one, then like that they can increase the number of their own species, as well as increase in the mass of individual says that they grow in their cell shape, they grow in their cell number, etc. Like that you can see here in this plant they are growing in size, and the size is also related with the increase in the number of cells. Here also each plants are pertaining the growth, certain types of growth, which says that all plants are also a living criteria, living organisms. Here you can see each and every organisms like human, animals, plants, these all are growing in size with the help of the increase of cell number, with the help of increase in the cell mass, cell differentiation also. So it is the very first criteria of being an organism living. Next is we can say that all living organisms reproduce. Reproduction is one of the ability of all the living organisms. And by this process all the living organisms produces new members of their own kind. There are certain modes of reproductions like living organisms can reproduce asexually also or sexually also. Asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction you have understood in the previous classes. Then also we can see that each and every living organism having ability to form the same individuals just like the same. So that is how they increase the number of their species and maintain their existence on earth. So there are certain modes of reproduction, like here I have taken some of the examples of asexual mode of reproduction in which some fungus reproduces asexually by sporulation process. Here also spore formation is taking place. Here in the case of Aspergillus also spore formation, spore, the specific name of those spores are conidia. So these are also reproducing asexually by the mode of sporulation. Here also you can see that a sporangium formation takes place. Inside those sporangium little spore develops and those spores can form a new organisms. So it is one of the mode of reproducing the fungal hyphae and formation of a new one. Next mode is budding in Hydra and yeast. It is also one of the asexual mode of reproduction in which here Hydra is capable for the formation of a young one, that also you have understood in the previous class. And here also you can see, and this one is the picture, ultra microscopic picture of yeast cells where bud formation takes place and that bud differentiates into a new organism. So that budding in Hydra and yeast, that is also one of the mode of reproduction and by which yeast and Hydra can form the new ones by the mode of asexual reproduction. Next one, that is the regeneration. It is also one of the criteria of planaria. That planaria forms multiple pieces of their body, and each piece divides and forms the new organism. So that is the mode of formation of a new organisms asexually in planaria. Here also regeneration you can see in Hydra also. Regeneration is also taking place in Hydra, where one young Hydra divides and forms two new Hydra. So that is the regeneration process. Some more features of being a living organism is metabolism. Metabolism basically means all the chemical reactions which is taking place inside the living organism, either the breakdown of the materials or the building of materials. So living organisms made up of chemicals, and building those chemicals and breakdown of those chemicals both comes under the heading that is metabolism, which is later on considered as catabolism and anabolism. Those chemicals are constantly being made and changed into some other biomolecules by chemical reactions or metabolic reactions. For example, when we take the example of photosynthesis, we see that some of the inorganic materials combines and form a higher degree of chemical, that is the carbohydrate, a kind of carbohydrate, that is glucose. As well as in respiration, you can see that some chemical process is taking place, that is to say a bigger molecule of that glucose is divided into smaller molecules like carbon dioxide and water molecules, as well as the energy. So those all chemical reactions which are the base of living organism, that is concluded as metabolic processes. So each and every living organism have capacity, or we can say they are being able to perform all the metabolic activities. So that is metabolism. So the sum total of all the chemical reactions occurring in our body, that is metabolism. And in another word, we can also say that metabolism is equal to catabolism plus anabolism. So that is metabolism. So metabolism is also one of the characteristic feature of a living being. So each and every living being having capacity to build the chemicals as well as to break the chemicals just to complete the need of their energy requirement. So very next feature of a living organism is cellular organizations. That means all living organisms have cellular organization of the body. Some are unicellular and another are multicellular. That means the building block of each and every living organism, that starts from the cell. Like that, you can see that atoms combines to form molecules or compounds, and those molecules combines to form organelles, and these organelles comprises to form a cell. Those cells comes together and form a specific tissues, and those tissues undergoes differentiation process and forms the specific organs. Those set of organs that forms the organ system, and a complete organ system forms a organism. So this is the cellular organization of any of the living organizations. Cellular organizations of any of the living being. That means they start from the atomic level and combines to form the higher level of organization. So each and every living organism performs certain levels in which they organized, and then they form a complete body of an organism. Next one is a response to stimuli. Response to stimuli. Stimuli, that is an external factor which provokes a living organism to respond. All the living organisms having some of the sense organs in their body, and they can sense from the surroundings. They can sense each and every factors that is present in the surrounding, and they respond accordingly. And those stimuli may be physical, chemical or biological. So each and every living organisms having the capacity to sense the external factors and responds accordingly. Just like when it touches a hot pan, our body feels the heat, and our hands, the muscles, or you can say the skin of our hand, that feels that heat and that responds accordingly, because the skin, our skin cells as well as our muscles senses that it can harm our body. That is why our hand muscles responds accordingly. So this is also one of the feature of any of the living organism. Like that, there are certain movements of plants also that is also considered as the response to the stimuli. Plants also react to the external factors, and that in the form of some of the movements. So that is movement of the plants. Plants also move according to the external factors present in the surrounding. Like that, you can see the plants, the upper part, that is called as the shoot system, that also grows just in the direction of the sunlight, as well as the roots, that is the root system, that also grows in the direction of a water source. That is also specific growth, where this growth is regulated by certain external factors, that is either water source or the light, sunlight. So that is why here also we can count that plants are also responding according to the stimuli, and that the stimuli here is either sunlight or the water source. So that is why we can say plants also a living organism. Here also one example we can say that the shoot system that grows just in the direction of the light. That means it also shows its response just according to the direction of sunlight. That is why this plant is also a living organism. So here we have concluded all the features of a living organism. Now we'll see how our biodiversity is made. So there are varieties of organisms, either plants or animals or the microorganisms also. Those all combinedly forms a special creature, we can say, a special structure we can say, and that is called biodiversity. That is called biodiversity. So we can define biodiversity as the vividness or the varieties of plants and animals that is present over our earth, that is called biodiversity. So in biodiversity, you can see there are varieties of plants, varieties of insects, varieties of birds, varieties of all the other creatures. So all creatures including plants and animals, that forms a huge biodiversity. But there are number of organisms, there are number of varieties present on earth. So it is quite difficult to study the criteria or each and every nature of every living organisms. So that is why, to make it suitable for us, we provide a nomenclature system. Nomenclature system that says about giving a unique name to each and every living organisms, just to make our study very easy. So that naming of living organisms, such that a particular organism is known by the same name all over the world, is called nomenclature. That means we are providing a unique name to each and every living organisms, just to make them easy for just to make them easy to be known in whole the world, to be each and every part of the world. That is why we provide a specific unique name. So that system of providing a specific name to each and every living organism is called as nomenclature. And for that, we must have to identify them. And how that identification is to be carried out, that identification is basically the process of describing organism correctly. For nomenclature is called identification. That means our living organism having certain criteria by which we can identify them, and we can provide them certain categories, and after that we can provide them a specific name. So that is the system of identification. So for nomenclature and providing them a unique name, we use a word which is called scientific name. We provide a scientific name. So that scientific name ensures that each organism has only one name, and by that only one name it is very well known in the each and every part of the world. So that scientific name, when that scientific name we use for any plant, that is called as the botanical name, and when that scientific name is provided to any of the animals, that is called zoological name. So basically these scientific name having two components. One component is the generic name and another component is the specific name. And just because it has two components, it is called binomial nomenclature. That means the nomenclature which have two elements. The nomenclature which has two components, that is called binomial nomenclature. And that concept was first of all given by Carolus Linnaeus. For example, Mangifera indica, that is a botanical name of mango, where this Mangifera resembles the genus name and this indica that says about the species name. So here Mangifera indica, it is the combination of two components. First is generic name and another one is a species name. So this is how we provide a scientific name to any of the organism. There are certain rules for providing a name to each and every living organisms. So we have to follow certain rules. So here I am explaining some of the rules for providing a scientific name to any of the living organisms. So basically scientific name comes from Latin and written in italics. It is slightly slanted. The first word of scientific name that represents the genus, while the second word represents the species name. Always when we combine two elements for providing the scientific name, the first word always represents the genus name, while the second word always represents the species name. When it is handwritten, when we write any of the scientific name, then both words are underlined separately. Then we must have to underline genus and species names separately, not combinedly but separately. Or when these scientific names are printed, then it must be italics. Why italics? Just to indicate their Latin origin. So just to indicate that the origin of that word, that is Latin, we must have to follow and we must have to print those in italic form. Another rule is the genus name, that is the first word. That genus name starts with capital letters. That means the initial of the genus name always will be capitalized, whereas the second word starts with the small letters. That means the species name that always starts with the small letters. So this is the rules which we should to follow while writing any of the scientific name of any of the living organisms. To understand the binomial nomenclature, we can take one of the example, the Bengal tiger. The scientific name of Bengal tiger is Panthera tigris. When we write Panthera tigris, this one represents the genus name, that is Panthera represents the genus name and tigris that represents the species name. And that genus name, the first, that is the initials of that genus name, that is always written in the capital letter, and the species name, the start or the initial of that species name, that always will be followed by the small letters. So that is why we have written that Panthera tigris by following all the rules of scientific names. So this is about the characteristic features of the living beings as well as taxonomy, identification and the scientific name. So rest part of the chapter we will see in the next video. Thank you. Have a nice day.